October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I am speaking to Shayna Doberman and Amber Gomnitz, who both work with the Gloucester Coalition for the Prevention of Domestic Abuse. Could you both introduce the work you do and the work of the
Hey,
coalition?
I'm Amber Gomnitz, and I serve as one of the domestic violence advocates out of the Gloucester Hawk office.
I'm Shayna, the magic of Zoom, right?
Right.
I'm the Young Adult Peer Coordinator for Unity. It's a drop-in center for young adults here on Cape Ann. And we're both co-chairs of the Coalition for the Prevention of Domestic Abuse.
So tell us about this work.
So the coalition has been around for over 20 years, and it's a coalition that has a number of different community providers, service providers, but also clergy, public health professionals, officers of the court, police officers. Not everybody participates all the time, but we have a large collective of people that do participate in the coalition, and we're really working together to address domestic violence and abuse within households, but also trying to break cycles of violence within the community, make sure that people know what resources are available, how to engage in services. So it's really trying to raise awareness for our community.
It's also a fantastic example of just the power of community partnerships. Like Amber said, this coalition has been meeting consistently for over 20 years, at least once a month, despite pandemics and changes in the community, people coming and going. The coalition has been around for quite some time, and the original co-chairs are still with us as well and very much active. They just couldn't be here for this meeting today.
So I would like to know just what one of those meetings look like. Like who's talking? What are you trying to cover? What happens at these meetings?
I mean, we generally start with community updates and program updates, although all of us might also be representing an agency, a business hat or two of some kind. We're also there as individuals. So we do start off our meetings with an opportunity to reflect on whatever new is going on, whether it's a new program that Hawk is offering, or if there's a drive in another, for another program in the community, or if there's a trend that we're seeing in the courts with protective orders, if there's any update from the police department, so it's really an opportunity to sort of share what's happening. And then we hold 3 different community events every year as an opportunity to raise awareness for what's happening with survivors in our midst, but also to do a little bit of prevention and awareness raising as well, so that the community has opportunities to come together, whether it's to heal, to prevent, for solidarity. So it's a little bit of all of that.
Amber, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good place to bring things that may be impacting the lives of survivors. So if there's something going on in the state around immigration, we'll have an update around that, or that kind of thing, like looking at public health interactions that might impact survivors. So just really trying to stay on top of things that we want to inform the people we're working with, and just trying to make sure that we are all interconnected and able to reach out for resources if we need them.
Well, speaking of public health, COVID has posed such a confluence of worst case scenarios when it comes to domestic violence. Do you want to talk about the last year and a half and what you've seen with families, what you've seen with your staff or counselors?
So to that point, I've been giving a lot of thought to this recently, because there's something about the question that has kind of been getting to me, like bothering me a little bit, and I've been trying to put my finger on it. And I think what's really come to the fore is that a lot of people have been asking about the pandemic as if it has increased domestic violence or had this tremendous impact on domestic violence, which I'm not saying it hasn't. But I just think it's very important to be aware that domestic violence is everywhere all the time. It's ever present. It's in our families and our communities all the time. And that the pandemic really did expose the violence, both structural and interpersonal, right? So it really gave us a time where we were, for the first time, really seeing the marginalized in a way that I don't know our country has seen before. And I have to say, yes, the pandemic obviously increased desperation. And anytime there's an increase in desperation, that's going to increase violence. And so that part, yes, I really have seen, but I just feel like it really is. We need to, as a culture, be aware how ever present this violence is and be addressing it every day. Not just in times of uncertainty, but at all days. And it's just something that we all need to be working together to acknowledge and um, try to prevent these incidents of violence upstream. What can we do as a society to prevent these kind of experiences for people and support people who do experience this violence. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. The only thing I wondered is, and I believe we interviewed someone from Hawk at the beginning of the pandemic, and there was a concern that there would be there would be less reporting of events because people were in homes with perhaps, the issue sitting right there, and it was harder to report. And I don't know if, did it change the way you had to operate at all?
I mean, we definitely had to be very careful with survivors and asking them if it's a safe time to talk,
Mhm.
which we do typically anyway. When I call out to a survivor, I'm going to almost always say that sentence as the second or third sentence I say to them. But we were extra cautious during the pandemic because we realized that people would be sharing space with people that were potentially harming them and went to be careful around that. I wouldn't necessarily say the reporting changed or there'd be less reporting, but I'd have to say survivors felt more anxious and needed more support, needed people that would hold that space with them, that uncertainty with them. And that's a heavy thing to hold because none of us had the answers. So it was really just being able to be with people in an uncertain space.
Right. Shayna, do you have any thoughts?
I would certainly echo everything that that Amber said initially, and certainly the work that I'm doing now day to day is predominantly with young adults between the ages of 16 and 25. So certainly there's some different complications, different barriers there. So certainly if I'm connecting with youth virtually, which is what we had to do, um, for most of the last year before we could start seeing folks in person again, was just creating a little bit of extra safety planning steps and check-ins, and developing, code words and safety words with our young adults so that if they weren't in a private space anymore where they could speak candidly, not necessarily for a safety reason, but we would know to, sort of switch the topic to something um, a little bit more mundane.
Mm. Well, we want to talk about the events you have planned for October, but let's just put in right here ways for anyone to reach out to you if they have, if they need to, and also ways to reach out to you if they want to help in some way, volunteer or donate. So why don't we provide the contacts right now?
Okay, so the best way to reach Hawk would just be to call our main office number, which is 978-744-8552. And you would call that line and ask for an intake if you want to work with an advocate, but we'd have a triage coordinator that could handle that call and sort of route you in the right direction. So if someone needed help around getting court accompaniment for a restraining order, we can route someone in that direction. Or if someone was interested in learning more about support groups or child services. So it's really, that would be your initial contact. We also have the hotline. I can't remember the number right off the top of my head, but that's available 24 hours.
And how about someone in Gloucester if they want, you have offices right in Browns Mall, is that right?
Yes, we're
How to
in
contact
actually
them?
the Action building. I know a lot of people are familiar with that building. It's 5 Pleasant Street.
Mhm.
And currently we are still seeing people remotely, but we can make arrangements to see people in person as well. So I would just encourage people to call the head office and ask to be connected to one of the advocates, and then we can set up either an in-person or remote intake for them.
Okay, great. Any info you need to add, Shayna?
I would just say that for any young adults, specifically folks that are between the ages of 16 and 18, because I believe Hawk services typically start for folks at 18 years of age. So if
Yes.
folks are a little bit younger, or whether they're the children of someone who's in an abusive situation, or if a young adult is concerned about the health of their own relationship, they can see us at Unity as well. And we're located at 6 Elm Street in Gloucester. We're open for drop-in hours, so folks can just walk in right off the street, no referral, no phone calls ahead of time. And we're open until 6 o'clock Tuesday through Friday.
Great. So tell us about the events you have planned.
So tomorrow, I know this is going to air later, but on October 1, typically we do a proclamation and flag raising to sort of set the tone for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we will be doing that at 11 o'clock on October 1st at City Hall. But this year we decided that we also wanted to do a second event, a complimentary event that was going to be something new, something different. And it's a lot because as a community, we're realizing that we really need to create space for healing, right? That we need to move away from us and them and really realize it's us. We're all together in this. We're all working together. And I'll let Shana talk a little bit more about it because she's put a lot of time and energy into planning the healing event. Shana, do you want to pick it up there?
Sure. So, I mean, like Amber said, we've done our proclamations, which we're very grateful to be. Like, I really can't overstate the importance of doing this work in a community that rises up to meet you. I've been doing this work in various agencies as well for almost the entire time that the coalition's been in existence, not always as a member, throughout the North Shore. And Cape Ann, Gloucester in particular, is really the only place that I've worked in the state that has a local community-based coalition of folks that's representing folks from all over the entire community, professionals, providers, parents, friends, neighbors, coming together for something like this. So we've done sort of the similar traditional, statistics, and it is a somber event because this issue it's heavy, and the weight of it warrants some, a heavier tone. But this year, like Amber said, we really, everyone's been carrying the weight of something, and we've been a bit more isolated, a little bit more disconnected. So this year we wanted to take advantage of the natural beauty that we have in our community. So the healing event will take place on Stacy Boulevard at the Fishermen's Wives Memorial, we're so lucky to have a space like that here. And the tone is really about healing. So we'll be leading the community in a ritual ceremony where they can, reflect a little bit on whatever it is that they're holding on to that might not serve them any longer. And we'll be using the voices and perspectives of survivors in our community anonymously to include their voices in that ceremony to, give suggestions of what those intentions might look like or what those things are that we maybe don't need to carry any longer. And then we'll be releasing that back into the ocean. So that'll be happening at 5 o'clock on October 12th. Rain date will be the following Thursday, the 14th, but hopefully we'll be there on the 12th as planned. And we'll be starting off with some music from our local community members. Charlie Bianchini, who's the other Hawk advocate out of the Gloucester office, will start us off with some music.
She's lovely.
Musician. She's fantastic. In so many ways. And then our dear friend Dennis Monagle will be providing some background percussion for the ceremony. And we'll hear a little bit from some of the other coalition members too. But everyone's there on the same playing field. It's not about a hierarchical event of who holds power. We're all coming together to share space, acknowledge where we're all at, and hopefully folks will leave feeling a little bit lighter than they did when they joined us.
And people can just attend, right? There's no need to RSVP or contact anybody. Just show up.
Not at all.
Just show up.
Nope. And we have the benefit of being outside, fresh air. We are encouraging folks to wear masks regardless of their vaccine status. But there'll be plenty of space for all of us to spread out, but still be together at the same time.
Well, I think it's really poignant to hold it at the Fishermen's Wives Memorial. Feels very significant, and it brings a whole new tone to that statue too. So it's kind of lovely. So
absolutely, and has the added benefit of seats. So
yeah, right.
So for anyone, we really wanted it to feel accessible in every sense of the word. So plenty of parking available for folks that will be transporting themselves there. It's literally level, and there's seats if folks need to take a little break.
Oh, great! You'll have seating set up.
Well,
there's seats around this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, anything you'd like to add to our conversation?
No, but thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to talk about both events and also just really to raise awareness around domestic violence for this month of October and just giving us some space to just really talk through what we've been experiencing in this work.
Well, it's an honor to speak to both of you. So thank you for joining us. And thank you for holding this event and doing the work you do.
Thank you so much.
Take
I'd
care.
like to just add quickly before we go, just to remind folks that the coalition is a public space. So anyone is welcome to join any of our meetings. They happen every month like clockwork on the first Tuesday at 12 o'clock. They used to be in person, but they are happening virtually for now for safety reasons.
Feel free to reach out to either me or Shayna, and we can get you connected if you're interested in participating in the coalition.
Okay.
Heather, you did say one thing about potential volunteer opportunities. I do want to just take a moment to say that Hawk does have volunteer opportunities. We could really use some support on hotline. There's work around court accompaniment. So if anybody does have some time to give, we would welcome participation from the community.
All right. Well, thank you again.